Wins News Time 111. Let's get you where you need to go with Andre Ferro.
And we're working on that crash. Garden State Parkway, northbound exit 131. The right lane remains blocked, but better news on the southbound side over by exit 144. We did clear the crash. There are some slight residual delays, though, heading down towards that area of 280. Now, if you're traveling at the George Washington Bridge, here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Around 15 in, 25 out. Mostly cross Bronx delays on the outbound side. Look out for delays passing Route 46 southbound on the turnpike heading down towards MetLife Stadium. At least 10 minutes round trip of the Lincoln. That has improved. About the same for the Holland. You have some slowdowns eastbound on 139 through Jersey City. Look out for roving repairs on the FDR in Manhattan. Basically now between 34th Street and the 59th Street Bridge. Southbound Harlem River Drive is slow, passing the Triborough, and northbound by the McCombs Dam Bridge. You can never catch a break there. Northbound Deegan busy heading up towards the 3rd Avenue Bridge. Not much at the Whitestone, Throgsneck, and Triborough. We like that. There are delays, though, I should say, Bronx-bound on the Throgsneck. Looks like some type of stall now mid-span. We'll keep an eye on that. Andre Ferro, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
And now a check of the AccuWeather forecast. Here's meteorologist Carl Erickson.
All right, Donna, those very gusty winds will stay with you through the rest of the afternoon. Gusting as high as 30 to 40 miles per hour at times. Despite that sunshine, putting that extra chill in the air, high 51, but again, feeling more like it's in the upper 30s, low 40s. Those winds do gradually subside tonight, and we stay dry as the cloud cover increases, low 36. And it stays rather cloudy tomorrow as the breezes once again pick up, high 45. And then really becoming windy tomorrow night into Monday. A very significant storm coming our way, which will spread rain across the area tomorrow night as temperatures actually rise. And it turns out quite warm on Monday, but the rounds of showers and heavier thunderstorms, which may contain some flooding downpours and some damaging wind gusts as well. High 61. Behind that, those winds stay strong, ushered in colder temperatures on Tuesday, high 41. Currently, it is 48, mostly sunny, humidity 29%, and winds west at 15, gusting to 31 miles per hour. Repeating the current temperature, 48 going up to 51 in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Carl Erickson on New York's weather station, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, it's almost time for March Madness, and people are expected to spend a pretty penny on sports gambling this year.
Men's and women's basketball fans are expected to spend as much as $3.3 billion on betting. The American Gaming Association says that's via legal gambling, mostly driven by sports betting apps. But more have gambling addictions. The National Council on Problem Gambling says those are up 30%, and some experts think the avalanche of betting sites was too much too fast. The Supreme Court overturned a federal law banning commercial sports betting in 2018. In 2023, states collected some $1.8 billion in revenue in taxes on those services.
And that is correspondent Allison Keys. The trade group that represents the U.S. casino industry says betting on the college basketball tournaments with U.S. sports books is up 54% over the past 3 years. Well, the Red Storm just one win away from another Big East tournament title. A win over Seton Hall last night with St. John's in tonight's championship game. Fox Sports had the call.
Seton Hall will back off, and this game will end. The St. John's Red Storm. For the first time since the 1999-2000 season, St. John's has made back-to-back Big East championship games.
St. John's will take on UConn. Game time 6:30 tonight at the Garden. Well, it's less than a month to go until opening day. Baseball fans getting their fill watching the World Baseball Classic. For those of you following along, you know it's been a crazy week for Team USA, and the drama continued in the quarterfinals in Houston, facing off against Canada.
The Americans jumped out early. Kyle Schwarber, Alex Bregman, Bryce Terang, and Pete Crow Armstrong all contributing to a 5-0 lead going into the bottom of the 6th. But Canada was not going quietly. Behind a 2-run shot from Cleveland Guardians catcher Bo Naylor, which brought the game to 5-3, and Canada was still not done. In the bottom of the 7th, with men on 2nd and 3rd and no outs, things were looking grim for USA, but David Bednar got out of the jam, showing some emotion as Team USA closed things out to advance.
And that is correspondent Ashan Singh with that report. From the legendary thrills of Coney Island to the cultural center of Staten Island's Snug Harbor, we are New York's all-news station.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good afternoon. 46 degrees right now at 1:20. I'm Donna Vaughn. And here's what's happening. President Trump indicating the war on Iran could be widening. He's calling for international support and naming other countries specifically to help keep the Strait of Hormuz open and safe for oil tankers. One person in custody after a shooting early this morning in the Bronx happened in the Wakefield section. If you happen to look like the headliner for the Super Bowl halftime show, Bad Bunny, place to be today is the Bronx. There's a $500 prize up for grabs in a look-alike contest. Well, the feds report the arrest of a man who allegedly sold a weapon to the gunman in the fatal shooting at Old Dominion this week. And in 1010 Wins Entertainment, we've got news about Harry Styles. Details coming up. The Nets at the Sixers this afternoon. Later tonight, the Rangers in Minnesota. The Islanders hosting the Flames. The Devils home against L.A., and the Big East Championship will be decided at the Garden St. John's versus UConn. AccuWeather says sunshine this afternoon, but pretty windy outside, high 51. Wins News Time is 1:21. Let's get you where you need to go with Andre Farrow.
Looks like we have a stall on the Throgs Neck Bridge heading back to the Bronx. I'm trying to check the camera here. Yeah, it's definitely something there. And it's causing delays. So if you're heading north on the Clearview, that's what's up ahead around mid-span heading towards the Bronx side. The Whitestone would be better for you. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. At least 15 in and 25 out at the George Washington Bridge. Around 10 minutes round trip of the Lincoln now, doing better. Holland Tunnel outbound is about 10. Inbound, well, you have time that you're going to be needed on the eastbound side of 139 through Jersey City, where it's slow. We have delays on the Western Spur, northbound, heading up towards Route 3 and up towards the MetLife area. And if you're traveling on the Eastern Spur, that seems to be a better ride. There are some more delays southbound on the Eastern Spur or the Western Spur, passing the Vince Lombardi and Route 46. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. Heavy eastbound Southern, Eagle Avenue to the Seaford Oyster Bay. The eastbound LIE is percolating with slowdowns by Searingtown Road. Northern State Parkway seems to be the best of the bunch. Just a little slow eastbound passing Little Neck Parkway heading towards the North Shore Towers. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, the Strait of Hormuz still shut down by the Iran war, but President Trump is now calling on other nations to help the U.S. keep it open, to keep oil shipments flowing. He called out some specific countries, in fact, in a social media post.
The president in this post is claiming that, quote, many countries, especially those who are affected by Iran's attempted closure of the Strait of Hormuz, will be sending warships in conjunction with the U.S. to keep the strait open and safe. He later wrote that, quote, hopefully China, France, Japan, South Korea, and the U.K. will send ships to the area.
Correspondent Selena Wong. Now, although the strait does remain virtually closed, India is now reporting that 2 of its tankers have crossed the Strait of Hormuz after being granted permission by Iran.
Iran has all but closed the Strait of Hormuz by threatening to attack ships passing through it. The narrow waterway between Iran and the Arabian Peninsula links the oil-producing Gulf to global shipping routes. But Tehran has now permitted 2 Indian tankers safely through. Iran's ambassador to India said the 2 countries were friends with shared interests. Iran, beset by years of international sanctions because of its nuclear program, relies heavily on oil exports to China in particular, but also to India.
And that is BBC correspondent Ian McWilliam. Indian officials say those 2 vessels that did cross the strait safely were carrying liquefied petroleum gas to ports in India. Meanwhile, another U.S. troop buildup in the Middle East. 3 Navy ships with 2,200 Marines on board are now headed to the region as Iran threatens to strike more oil facilities. By the way, U.S. Central Command says oil facilities on Cord Island were not hit, only military targets like missile storage bunkers. That American assault happening yesterday. Well, one person is now in custody after a shooting early this morning in the Bronx. It happened in the Wakefield section. Police say 2 men were shot around 5 a.m. on White Plains Road. A 38-year-old man was wounded. He is hospitalized in stable condition. A second man was shot in the chest. He's expected to be okay, though. The motive in that shooting, well, police say they're not sure yet. And it is time now for Bloomberg Money Watch.
There's a real battle brewing in the U.S. coffee industry.
There's no question that it's a coffee war right now.
That's Jonathan Mays, editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business, who says the latest salvo in the nearly $52 billion limited service coffee industry, China's giant Luckin coffee chain, buying the California-based high-end Blue Bottle coffee chain, which has 140 shops in the U.S. and charges upwards of $8 for a latte.
Luckin is an amazing company. It has gone from nothing in 2017 to more than 30,000 locations around the world.
And they did it with low prices, like $2 for a cup. But now it's got its sights on the U.S., looking to take on Starbucks, which accounts for about half of U.S. coffee shop sales, and its gourmet coffee drinkers.
There is essentially an arms race for the U.S. beverage market today.
So look for Starbucks, Dunkin', Dutch Brothers, Caribou, Tim Hortons, and more to defend their turf as Luckin makes inroads. I'm Tom Busby. Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
1010 Wins.
When I need it, it's there.
They cover everything.
I like the way they present it.
1010 Wins.
At 92.3 FM.
Wins News Time 1:30.
Good afternoon. I'm Ashok Bala. A Virginia man named Kenya Chapman is accused of illegally selling a gun to Mohammed Jallo, the former National Guardsman, who the FBI says killed an instructor and injured 2 students in an ROTC class at Old Dominion University on Thursday.
According to court documents, Kenya Chapman admitted he stole the gun a year ago and then sold it to the shooter. The shooter could not legally buy a gun because he was previously convicted of trying to help ISIS carry out a terror attack. The gunman was sentenced to 11 years in prison, but he was released early. Police say Chapman has denied knowing that the gunman was a convicted felon. Chapman is due in court later this month. The shooter, we now know, was a student at Old Dominion University. The FBI believes it was an act of terrorism.
And that's Alex Stone reporting. Wins News Time 1:31. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrow.
Let's go to Long Island. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big Three. We have delays eastbound Southern State Parkway, Eagle Avenue to the Seaford Oyster Bay. There's some westbound volume as well heading towards Newbridge Road. Traveling on the LIE eastbound by Searingtown Road is busy. Westbound by Glen Cove Road, exit 39, you have some slowdowns. And the eastbound Northern State Parkway heading past Jericho Turnpike and heading down towards the Meadowbrook. Some volume there. Cross Island Parkway is not good from Bell down to Northern in Queens. Southbound Clearview a little bit better, but you're heavy eastbound on not only the LIE but the Grand Central Parkway as well, from Utopia Parkway to the Cross Island, and then round trip over by Woodhaven Boulevard on the LIE is never good, it feels like, and it's not right now. If you're traveling westbound BQE from Queens Boulevard to the Kosciuszko to the Willie B to Flushing Avenue to the Brooklyn Bridge, it's a chain of delays. And then the inbound Gowanus, don't Gowanus from 39th Street up to the Brooklyn Bridge. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Just around 10 minutes in at the George Washington Bridge, 35 minutes now on the outbound side, but it's mostly cross Bronx delays. Lincoln and Holland tunnels. Let's go to the Lincoln first. That's around 10 minutes round trip. The Holland's more 15 now round trip. And keep in mind, New Jersey Transit trains are scheduled to resume normal service at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. We'll keep you up to date on that. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
And let's now get the AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist Carl Erickson.
Well, good afternoon, Ashok. As we go through the rest of the afternoon, those gusty winds remaining with you, gusting as high as 35 to 40 miles per hour at times. Otherwise, sunshine, a few clouds overhead up to 51. Then winds gradually subsiding tonight as the cloud cover increases later on, low 36. And it stays cloudy tomorrow. Once again, those winds picking up with a high of 45. Should be dry during the day, and then some rain breaks out late tomorrow evening as temperatures actually rise through the night, topping off at 61 on Monday. So there's a roller coaster ride in temperatures continues. But with those warmer temperatures Monday, also rounds of showers and even some heavier storms moving on through, especially late in the day into the evening. Those may contain some flooding, downpours, damage, and wind gusts. We'll keep a very close eye on that for you. Behind all that stormy weather, it turns colder, remaining windy on Tuesday with a high only of 41. Currently 48, mostly sunny, humidity 29%, and winds west at 15, gusting to 31 miles per hour. The current temperature 48, going up to 51 in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Kai Erickson on New York's weather station 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
Students and supporters gathered near Columbia University last night for a vigil marking 1 year since former student LaQuaq Cordia was taken into federal immigration custody. The Palestinian woman, who's 33, was detained after attending a scheduled immigration appointment in Jersey. Earlier yesterday, a judge again granted Cordia bond, which could allow her release from a detention facility in Texas while her immigration case continues. Homeland Security has previously blocked her release using an automatic stay order. The department now has till Monday to decide whether to challenge the ruling again. Supporters say Cordia was targeted after taking part in pro-Palestinian protests tied to the war in Gaza. It's Pi Day, the annual celebration of the mathematical constant 3.14. The unofficial holiday was created in 1988 at San Francisco's Exploratorium. It celebrates the number used to calculate circles. And across the country, restaurants are marking the day with pie and pizza deals. Up in the Bronx, a bunch of pizza joints on Arthur Avenue are offering Pi Day specials, including discounts and slices for $3.14. Paul DeSilvio is founder of Funicia Pizza. He tells 1010 Wins.
We just want to celebrate the day. We're doing $10 margarita pies all day, which is insane, but we just want people to come and enjoy and celebrate with us.
I would if I could. March 14th today, also the birthday of Albert Einstein. NASA naming a new date for the Artemis II launch.
The mission to take 4 astronauts around the moon could happen as soon as April 1st. If that date is a no-go, NASA has at least 6 other days in its April launch window. NASA made the announcement after a series of delays and tech setbacks. Artemis II is NASA's first crewed lunar mission in more than 50 years.
Gio Benitez reporting NASA initially aimed for February and March launch dates, but a fuel leak delayed the mission. Then an interrupted flow of helium forced NASA to return the rocket and spacecraft back inside for repairs. Your city, your station, in your pocket. Take 1010 Wins everywhere. Download the free Odyssey app.
The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Partly cloudy, 48 degrees. It's 1:40. Good afternoon. I'm Asho Kabbalah. Here's what's happening. A New York attorney is facing federal charges for allegedly trying to extort $500,000 from a former client. With gas prices rising, President Trump says the U.S. will continually shoot Iranian boats and ships out of the Hormuz Strait to get it open. The NYPD is investigating a deadly Friday night shooting in Queens. The partial government shutdown could slow down travel plans, with TSA workers not getting a paycheck. In Kansas, cops are cracking jokes about a bull that got loose and ran around a field near a high school because nobody was hurt. The Nets are battling the Sixers. Rangers Wild at 6. The Islanders host the Flames at 7. Same time, Devils Kings. College men's basketball Big East tournament comes down to the UConn Huskies battling St. John at home at 6:30. And AccuWeather says windy today, gusts around 40 miles an hour. Sun, a few clouds, 51 tonight. Gets more cloudy, 36. Tomorrow, cloudy and breezy, 45 for the high. Wins news time, 1:41. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrow.
We have a crash in the Bronx, westbound on the Cross Bronx, right by the Deegan. And now the delays are starting to kick in almost all the way back to the Bronx River Parkway. And eastbounders are going by taking a peek as well. You still have only about a 15-minute delay inbound to George Washington Bridge. Outbound isn't bad as well, but it's getting there. The issue with the Cross Bronx delays. Now, if you're traveling inbound Lincoln and Holland, those are around 15 minutes. Both outbound are in decent shape. We have trouble in Rockland County, northbound on the Palisades exit 11 for New Hempstead Road. There's a crash knocking out one lane. If you're traveling in Connecticut, we do have some slowdowns on the southbound side of 95 into Stamford by exit 8. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big 3. Heavy eastbound southern right around that Eagle Avenue area. You start tapping the brakes because we have a stall as you head towards Nassau Road. That just came into play right around exit 21. And then there's more delays on the eastbound southern approaching the Wansaw. The Wansaw merge is always terrible. And why would it be any better right now? Westbound, as you travel on the LIE by Glen Cove Road is a little slow. The Northern State Parkway seems to be the best of the bunch. Andre Farrow, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
A New York attorney is facing federal charges for allegedly trying to extort $500,000 from a former client. Prosecutors say Joshua Nass, 34, hired someone to threaten and possibly assault the client's son in an effort to collect what he claimed was a $500,000 debt. The New York Times says the court papers strongly suggest the target of his alleged threats is Joseph Schwartz. Federal investigators say Nass paid the individual cash telling him to do anything and everything to force payment. Nass was arrested yesterday and is expected in federal court today. This morning, President Trump asked other countries to assist in the Strait of Hormuz, and on his social media platform, Mr. Trump called out specific countries, saying they will hopefully send ships to the critical waterway.
We've reached out to the White House for clarification as to what countries have agreed to this. Is this a formal agreement, or is the president in his post, as he is saying, just hoping that countries are going to help escort these tankers through the Strait of Hormuz? Because this has become a real problem for the administration. Gas prices are skyrocketing. Oil prices are up because the Strait of Hormuz, which is where about a fifth of the world's oil passes through, that is effectively closed.
Correspondent Selena Wong, it's not just prices at the pump. The war in Iran is driving up shipping costs, messing with the stock market.
On Wall Street, the S&P 500 falling to a new low for the year, posting its third consecutive losing week. This collision of economic forces stem from Iran's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. And while nations, including the United States, dip into emergency stockpiles, among other stopgap measures to try and stabilize prices, it doesn't solve the bigger problem, reopening the strait.
Andrew Dimebert reporting. In Queens, cops are investigating a shooting that left Jairo Javier Vinces Cobena, who was 36, dead. Officers responded to a 911 call last night near 55th Avenue and found the victim riddled with bullets. He was pronounced dead at Elmhurst Hospital. No arrests yet, and the investigation continues. A house fire this morning in Canarsie has landed one person in the hospital.
Adrenaline pumping here early Saturday morning where a fire broke out on the 4th floor of this building.
I just grabbed my essentials. I have 2 dogs, a guinea pig, in case we can never make it back in.
Yeah, that's Jasmine. She lives on the 5th.
We heard a neighbor outside calling for 911. I vaguely heard the other young lady from the apartment saying, help, help.
So she had 2 things on her mind: get myself and the animals out and don't breathe in.
We just was told to come out the apartment because the smoke was so much.
She knew the affected family.
She has a little baby with her, so hopefully they can find housing for them while they get everything together. American Cross is outside.
FDNY says 1 person's in the hospital. Amanda Alexander, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Canarsie.
The city is creating its first mayoral office dedicated to LGBTQ affairs. Mayor Mamdani signed an executive order establishing the new office to coordinate services and policies affecting LGBTQ New Yorkers.
This day was a long time coming. It took years of activism from community leaders who recognized how often queer New Yorkers fall through the cracks while attempting to access our city's social services.
Civil rights attorney Taylor Brown will serve as director, becoming the first openly transgender person to lead a New York City office or agency. The office will work across city departments on issues including housing, healthcare access, and anti-discrimination efforts. Health officials have confirmed the city's first case of a new strain of monkeypox, or M-Pox. The Department of Health and Mental Hygiene says the case involves the more severe Clade 1 strain and is linked to international travel. Officials say the patient is recovering and isolating, and there's currently no evidence of local transmission. Health Commissioner Alistair Martin says the risk to the public remains low, but people at higher risk are encouraged to get the 2-dose M-Pox vaccine. Turbulent times at the nation's airports. The partial government shutdown started the spring break travel crush with hours-long waits to get through TSA checkpoints.
Passengers say they're missing flights as the TSA is facing a growing crisis. 60,000 TSA workers just received their first $0 paycheck, with Homeland Security funding at a standstill. And since the shutdown began, more than 300 agents have quit, call-outs more than doubling, and now federal workers flooding food banks in order to feed their families.
Morgan Norwood reporting. A former U.S. senator is admitting she had an affair with a member of her Senate security detail while in office. Kristen Sinema of Arizona acknowledged the sexual relationship with Matthew Amell in court documents. Amell's wife has filed a lawsuit against Sinema, alleging she willfully and intentionally seduced her husband. Authorities are examining newly recovered images in the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie.
Sources tell ABC News the FBI accessed thumbnail images from motion-activated cameras at Guthrie's home in Tucson, Arizona. The sources say the cameras detected people in her yard in a time period before she was last seen and the day after when police arrived at the home. But the cameras did not capture anything the night of the abduction.
Correspondent Janae Norman, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, was last seen January 31st. The former president of Brazil is in the hospital in intensive care with pneumonia. Jair Bolsonaro is 70. His doctors say his medical condition is serious. He's experiencing a high fever, low oxygen. Bolsonaro is currently in prison, serving a 27-year sentence for attempting a coup. A bull running around a field outside a high school. I'll tell you about that. But first, Wins News Time 151. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Andre Farrow.
Another banner day in Brooklyn on the BQE as you make your way up towards the inbound Gowanus from 39th Street up to the Prospect. Right by the Prospect, we have a disabled vehicle, and that's causing some big slowdowns. But you're heavy across the Kosciuszko, just west of the Williamsburg, and heading towards Flushing Avenue, getting flushed down the drain there.